Hey everyone, welcome back. So let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your Social Security check and thought, this just isn't stretching like it used to? I mean, whether it's groceries, gas, rent, you name it, it feels like the cost of everything's creeping up while your benefits are just kind of stuck. And for millions of Americans, that check isn't just extra money, it's everything. It's what keeps the lights on, keeps the fridge full, keeps the doctor's appointments going. It's the baseline. And when even a small change is made to what you receive, it can ripple through your entire budget. Now, there's a number being talked about right now that could shape what that check looks like next year. It's a new estimate and it's important, but just knowing the number isn't enough. You have to know how it's calculated, what it actually reflects, and whether it really lines up with your day to day reality. Because let's be honest, if your expenses are racing ahead and Washington's saying everything's under control, something's off, right? So if you've ever felt like the numbers you hear don't quite match what's happening in your grocery cart or your utility bill, I want you to stick around for this one. There's more going on under the surface than most people realize, and if you understand it, you can better prepare for what's coming next. And real quick, drop a comment below and let me know what's gone up the most for you lately. Eggs, rent, power bill. What's really eating up your monthly budget right now? I love reading through your stories, and it also helps others feel less alone in all of this. And if you find this kind of breakdown helpful, calm, clear, and focused, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. So here's what's happening. Each year, Social Security adjusts the benefits people receive to try and keep up with the rising cost of living. That adjustment is called the COLA, or Cost of Living Adjustment. And right now, we're starting to see early projections for next year's COLA. The estimate is sitting around 2.5%. That might sound small, but it really matters. That number decides how much more you'll see in your monthly check starting in 2026. And when every dollar counts, even 0.5% can be the difference between paying all your bills and falling a little short. Now you might be wondering, where does that 2.5% number even come from? It's based on an index called the CPIW. That stands for the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. It's basically a government tool that tracks the price of a basket of goods and services, things like food, housing, fuel. The idea is to capture how much costs have gone up over the year and then use that to adjust Social Security benefits. But here's the catch. While the CPIW says prices have gone up just over 2% in the past 12 months, most people aren't buying it. A recent survey found that 80% of older Americans thought inflation was actually higher than 3% last year. That's a big gap between the official numbers and what people are actually living through. And honestly, you're not imagining it. When rent keeps going up, when your grocery bill keeps growing, when your healthcare costs keep climbing, those jumps aren't always fully reflected in the formula the government uses. That's one of the biggest criticisms of the CPIW. It's based on the spending habits of workers, not retirees. And retirees spend very differently, more on healthcare, more on housing, more on essentials. So if the index doesn't match how seniors actually spend their money, then the adjustment doesn't keep up with what they actually need. And that's where things start to feel off. Now let's talk about why those inflation numbers might seem so out of step. Part of it has to do with how the data is being collected. Under the current administration, there's been a big push to cut costs across federal agencies, and that includes the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the group responsible for collecting inflation data. Because of hiring freezes and staffing shortages, they've stopped doing in-person price surveys in several cities. Instead, they're relying more on estimates, models, and phone interviews. Now those models can be helpful, sure, but they're not always perfect, especially when they aren't capturing real on-the-ground price changes. If the data is off, the inflation number's off. And if the inflation number's off, then your COLA might fall short of what you really need to get by. That brings us back to the current estimate, 2.5%. On paper, it's not the worst, but in practice, it's not enough. Healthcare premiums have gone up. Housing costs are up, food's up, utility costs are up, and for people living on a fixed income, that makes life harder. Groups like the Senior Citizens League have been raising the alarm about this for a while. They've even updated their own COLA forecasts to include things like interest rates and unemployment, trying to give a fuller picture of what's really going on. But if the base data is flawed, the result will be too, no matter how good the model is. And another thing that's frustrating, these increases don't happen in real time. The COLA is based on inflation numbers from the third quarter of the year, July, August, and September. Whatever those numbers say is what your increase is based on. But if inflation spikes in November or December, you're stuck waiting another year to catch up. It's always a step behind. So what can you do? Well, first, understand the system. Knowing where your COLA comes from helps you make sense of your check. And if you're not yet retired, it's a reminder that Social Security alone might not be enough when inflation heats up. Also, don't overlook local resources. Many states and cities offer programs that can help fill the gap when your benefits don't go far enough. Things like energy assistance, property tax breaks, prescription savings, food support. These programs can make a big difference. And if you're frustrated, you're absolutely not alone. There are advocacy groups, lawmakers, and policy experts who are pushing for reform. One idea that's gaining traction is switching the COLA formula to something called the CPIE, the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. That index tracks the actual spending habits of people 62 and older. It puts more weight on healthcare and housing. It could give a much more accurate picture of what seniors really face. There's also the tax angle. When he was campaigning, former President Trump promised to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. That hasn't happened yet. It didn't make it into the current version of his major bill, something called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, but it did include a $4,000 increase to the standard deduction for seniors, which helps lower your taxable income. It's not a full fix, but it's something. And these smaller steps do add up, especially when you're stretching every dollar. But people are watching closely to see if bigger changes come next, whether that's using a more accurate inflation formula or updating the COLA process altogether. Because in times like these, when trust in the system is shaky, giving people accurate numbers and a fair adjustment isn't just about money. It's about respect. I was talking to someone last week who said, "Yeah, my check went up, but my groceries went up more." And that stuck with me. That's the core issue. It's not about whether inflation is 2.4 or 2.5%. It's about whether you can afford the basics without cutting back somewhere else. So really the question isn't just what the COLA number is, it's whether that number actually reflects reality. And if it doesn't, we've got more work to do. Let me know in the comments. Has your benefit increase been enough to keep up with your expenses? What have you had to cut back on just to make ends meet? Your stories help keep the conversation grounded in what really matters. And if you want clear updates without all the noise, just plain talk and straight answers, make sure you're subscribed. I'll keep breaking these topics down and helping you stay prepared one step at a time. And just before we go, I want to share something that could help. We've partnered with Chapter. They offer free, honest Medicare guidance, no pushy sales. A licensed advisor will help you compare every Medicare plan in your area and see if you can save money. Most people save over $1,000 a year. It's completely free, and their support doesn't stop after you sign up. You can call them at 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments. Thanks for being here. Let's keep the conversation going, and I'll see you in the next one.